Well, it's taken some time and probably some focus groups, but Democrats are finally coalescing around a message for the 2018 midterms. Vote for us or else. This summer, Congresswoman Maxine Waters urged her supporters to harass Trump officials if they dare to appear in public.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
But that was too moderate. So this weekend, Waters doubled down, saying she threatens Trump supporters all the time.
And of course, the lying president said that I had threatened all of his constituents. I did not threaten his constituents, his supporters. I do that all the time, but I didn't do it that time.
I do it all the time. She gets points for directness. Well, not all Democrats are saying that out loud. Some are taking a more expansive view. Vote for us or the world will end.
Frankly, our democracy is on the ballot because this is not simply an election about right versus left. This is an election about right versus wrong.
This is a genuine constitutional crisis.
I'm here to deliver a simple message, and that is that you need to vote because our democracy depends on it.
Well, some sad media figures like Carl Bernstein are cheering on apocalyptic warnings as a valid political message. Watch.
It is time for the Republicans to say the Trump presidency is a national emergency, and it is up to us, both parties, to treat the Trump presidency as a national emergency.
No buffoons on parade. Rochelle Ritchie is a former press secretary for the House Democratic Policy and Communications Committee, and she joins us tonight. Thanks so much for coming on, Rochelle. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Tucker.
I kind of, as someone who's interested in words and ideas and messages, I've been waiting with bated breath to find out, what are they going to run on? What is the idea? And it's the kind of mafia standby, vote for us or else.
Well, here's the thing.
Is that going to work, do you think?
You have senior officials right now writing op-eds in the New York Times saying that they're trying to protect our democracy. So this notion that you're hearing from Kerry or that you're hearing from Obama, that our democracy is on the ballot, it's not rooted in fear. It's rooted in fact.
So do you find it, just since I'm a connoisseur of irony, I'm going to ask you if you've perceived this too, that the people who say they're concerned about our, quote, democracy are also the ones saying that Trump should be removed from office without an election. Do you see any kind of contradiction there?
Well, look, here's the thing. The mainstream Democrats are not really toting this impeachment message. I think that's what you're getting at. You hear Maxine Waters saying
not the impeachment. No, the 25th Amendment. No, the idea. Impeachment is a process. There's a trial. The Senate can convict, which I think, it's constitutional. I think it's legitimate, personally.
Well, look,
but the idea that the cabinet can come together and just decide you can't be president, what do you think? Is that a Democratic impulse, do you think, calling for something like that?
Well, look, clearly it's not a Democratic impulse when you have senior White House officials in the White House under Republican president being the ones that are talking about the 25th Amendment. I don't think that's it. But let's talk about fear-mongering for a second.
Well, I just want to be honest. Hold on, wait. Let me just say, it's not a partisan thing. There are tons of Republicans in Washington who dislike democracy as much as the Democrats do. I'm certainly not blaming just the Democrats. A lot of Republicans don't think voters should have a role in these questions. Well, then what do you think of the idea that the cabinet, a group of unelected people, could just say, I don't think you should be president, and depose the president? Are you comfortable with that?
It's in the Constitution. We can't change the Constitution. It's in our Constitution.
But would you say that's okay, sure it is. I guess, sort of. It's not exactly clear what it says. But do you think... Well, it's not. It's never been tried, and it is, but it's not clear what the criteria for removal are. But let me get to the deeper point, which is, do you think that that's a Democratic thing to want? That a bunch of unelected people can just decide that someone's no longer president? That's not democracy, is it? Constitutional or not?
Well, look, I think that if you have senior White House officials, I don't necessarily agree with what's being done. I think this person is not a hero that wrote this op-ed. I think that if they want to come forward, they need to do that instead of hiding behind the cape and mask of the New York Times. I do think that they need to come forward. But there is a process to use when it comes to the 25th Amendment and impeachment.
So do you think that if Carl Bernstein doesn't like you, that you should be allowed to be president? I guess it kind of comes down to that.
I think that if the American people vote then whoever wins the presidency, that is the person that is going to be president. But when you're
there you go. Now we're back to democracy. I'm for that. Okay.
Right.
Good.
I think most of us are, right? But when you're talking about,
I thought that.
But when you're talking about fear-mongering, I was listening to some of the tape or the sound that you had playing, and people were saying apocalyptic. Let's remember that it is President Trump that said that there's going to be violence in the streets of America if the Republicans do not win the midterms. The stock market is going to crash. Everyone's going to be poor. So if we're really talking about fear-mongering, the biggest fear-monger is Donald Trump.
Well, I think, wasn't he I mean, look, I don't think any president should ever predict the stock market, so I agree with you on that, actually. But I don't think the president was saying Republicans were going to hurt anybody. I mean, it's pretty much exclusively Democrats that commit political violence, I think.
I don't know.
I've been watching pretty closely.
Look,
I've noticed mostly.
Donald Trump
have
is
you
the
seen
one
any
that
Republicans
talks about
hitting people in the face with bike locks recently?
Well,
or is that,
let's think about this. I do remember seeing people being punched in the face at Trump rallies. And I do remember him saying that he was going to pay their legal fees. That I do remember.
Huh. All right. Rochelle, great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
President Trump could be on the brink of declassifying key documents in the Russia investigation, documents that the rest of us might